Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jared, and I'm here with Marissa Brassfield, the founder of Ridiculously Efficient. Really cool organization that helps teams work better together. Um, One of her clients is actually Peter Diamandis, which is how, or one of the ways that I think we got to start knowing you, Marissa. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your work and some of the things that you do?
I'd love to. And thank you so much, Jared. It's a treat. And hello, TFF. I love TFF. So I'm so pumped to be here with you all today. So at Ridiculously Efficient, with some of my best friends, I help individuals perform like teams, and I help small teams perform like large organizations. And one of the ways that I do that is through optimizing small teams and really helping them figure out what they do best and how to position each team member in the organization so that together everything feels like a well-oiled machine and we're able to crank out work. So with Peter Diamandis, and I'm so glad you brought that up, I created Abundance 360 with Peter, and I head up his small skunk works of 8 millennials. And what we do pretty much is come up with fun business ideas and run them as experiments. Some of the best ones get spun out into businesses, and that's how Abundance 360 happened, which is Peter's mastermind for entrepreneurs. So every year we bring 360 entrepreneurs together in Beverly Hills, California for a very, very high-end event. 2.5 days, we teach them about the future of technology, the future of exponential technologies and what's relevant for their businesses. We help them figure out the next steps, get them excited about the future, and really feel anchored in their ability to take on these really big challenges. And so some of these folks are from Caterpillar or Uber or Google or some of these organizations that we know, and they're executives or they're entrepreneurs in another life, and we help them figure out what they're really passionate about and what problems that they want to solve in the world that might be outside their business. So folks will start up nonprofits, or they'll spin up a Hero X challenge, or spin up a nonprofit as a result of Abundance 360 membership. So there's a ton of epic entrepreneurs in there, and I just love spending every second of my day with talented people who want to change the world. So that's one of the reasons I'm so excited for our Q&A today.
Awesome. Thanks, Marissa. And we're really excited to chat with you and get some of your insights onto how some of our TFF teams can be more efficient and work better together as a team. So we have some questions for you. So let's just dive right in. So one of the biggest questions and one of the biggest challenges that we see every year from our teams is that we're students. So do you have any recommendations or insights? So I'm a student that's also working on this startup. How do I balance my time, and how do I make the best of both of this scenario and reach my full potential?
Yeah, so the first thing about that, and it's so common, right? We're juggling multiple projects, or maybe you have a day job and you're trying to work on a startup part-time. There are so many competing sort of requests for our bandwidth. So it's a really, really important topic. And for me, it starts with getting really clear on your outcome, whatever the goal is that you're trying to achieve. I want to do really well in school, but also launch this startup. Well, what does success look like in that launch? So really getting clear on the outcomes. Then I figure out, okay, what are the best skills that I personally can bring to the table? What are the things that I do that not only give me energy when I'm doing them, it feels great to continue to get better at them, and other people count on me for that thing. So that's what I call superhero skills, or unique ability is another way that I'll describe it sometimes. Whatever that unique ability is for you, and for me, it's catalyzing teams, catalyzing momentum for other people, a facilitator, a real strong strategic facilitator. So I know that for me, the best way that I can contribute is to bring a team together. So for me, the first step is figuring out, okay, what are the skills that I bring to the table? I'm a great communicator. I'm a leader, a motivator. I'm a tremendous writer. So whatever those top skills are for you, really carve them out and protect them. Figure out how you can do those things in the times of your day where you are most productive. And so that's a really key point. So I'll hit it again. Using an example, I'm really, really clear, creative, focused, and just on fire in the morning hours. So when I was in school, I would, because I was working bartending and stuff for work, I didn't necessarily need my full brain power for that. So I would front load all of my classes to happen, 8:30 in the morning. Although it's so early for college, for me, that was the best way that I could just do what I needed to do, just stay locked in school. And the reverse might be true for you in your startup. So if you're really on fire later in the day, I know a lot of people who are most creative at 2 or 3 in the morning. So don't set yourself up to fail by taking those 8 a.m. classes. Maybe there is some way that you can massage and push your schedule further back in the day so that those times in the morning where you're just not on fire, you're resting up or doing something else or reading or recharging in some fashion. So those are sort of the 2 first steps I'd take. Then it's really about aggressive, I would say, emotional management. So everything we do, we expend energy. Sometimes it's fun. It's really, when you're working in a unique ability or superhero skill, even though you're working really hard and exerting, if you're enjoying it and it doesn't feel like work, the time flies by. So you expend less energy, although you're working hard, it feels less difficult than when you're doing something really horrible. Like for me, it's numbers and spreadsheets, and that stuff just spins me out. So whenever I am in that land, I might be spending 15 minutes on something focused, but if it's the wrong task and it's draining energy out of me instead of giving it, boy, that 15 minutes is going to feel like 5 hours. So take note of what those tasks are for you. And we all feel it when we're there. For studying was really hard for me. I love reading. I love remembering things. I'm good at that stuff. But for whatever reason, studying for a test was never as fun as getting a friend together and talking about it. So for me, bringing in teamwork, it always comes back to teamwork. So think about how you operate when you're at your best, but also how you operate when things aren't feeling, when it kind of feels like you're stepping through mud, because it's just, even just to take another step forward, it is just toil and effort. Think about those activities and consider bringing in teamwork, because the things that I'm not great at, numbers and all that stuff, gosh, there's so many friends who are amazing at those things. And all I have to do is ask them for help.
Awesome. I love that. And you have such a clear idea on what your superhero skills are and what, when and what conditions that you need to be working at your best self. Do you have any tools or like tricks? Like, how could I go through and try to figure this out within my life on what tools like really make me come alive, or what skills really make me come alive, and things like that?
Yeah, so there's a mix of data and a mix of just noticing and being in tune with yourself. So I'll give you the data first. So 2 assessments that I use, I mean, you know this, Jared, I use this throughout everywhere, is the Kolbe and the Strengths Finder. So how I use that, so the Kolbe Index A, and that's Kolbe. It's Kathy Kolbe, it's her last name. She created this assessment that measures how you operate in 4 distinct modes when you're striving. So when you're trying your hardest, how much information do you need to make a decision? How you like to organize facts and information, how you operate under chaos and uncertainty, and then how you deal with the physical world, tangible objects when you're building. Do you like to imagine or actually build it? So it'll give you a number from 1 to 10, and the higher the number, the more energy you have for that thing. So as an example, you get 4 numbers. My 4 are 5, 9, 5, 2. So 5 is right about the middle, 1 to 10. But 9, the thing that is the highest one for me, is follow through, which is how you organize information. So for me, if we were sitting across a table and you dumped out some Legos, and someone else said, okay, let's build a house, you and I would operate very differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. So yeah.
Exactly. So where I am high, Jared is low. Where I'm in the middle, Jared is very high. So how we would operate is Jared would just start building. He's already begun. And I might ask, well, what kind of a house? Or what color should the house be? Or well, any size we want or any shape. I'm trying to get more information. That's my fact finder working, which is 5. But now, once I have the vision locked in, as a planner, I'm organizing things. I'm the kid that lays out sorts the Legos by color. I even had an order that I ate my candy in as a little girl. And these are things that I always did, but until I took the Kolbe, I didn't know why I did them. And the reason, and once you have that knowledge and you start noticing it in your life, you're going, wow, I really do love prioritizing things for other people and for myself. I really do love getting in on a project and figuring out what has to happen right now and what can wait till next week. So that's the first step. The Strengths Finder comes from Gallup, and it's a little bit different. It literally just measures your strengths. But how I use that with the Kolbe is, all right, so think about your 4 numbers and how much relative energy you have to do those things. So I've got lots of energy for planning and strategy and organizing. My number 1 strength on Strengths Finder is Maximizer. So by default, I've got lots of energy to organize facts, information, and strategies and prioritize so that we can get better. And I believe fundamentally that everything can always get better. So you work with your top 5 strengths there. And so the total investment, I think Kolbe is $49, and then Strengths Finder is maybe $15, maybe more if you get the book. And when you have those 2 things together, it's like you start noticing these patterns of how you operate when you're trying really hard, but you're also doing really good work. So now I've got those numbers, I've got that data, and and there's a little confirmation bias at work for sure, but it's also because I trust these assessments and I've seen them work in so many people and all these different organizations and people from all over the world and all ages. And I've observed it time and time and time again. It just works, these 2. So I swear by them. The other half. So now you're leaning into your strengths. You're thinking about how you instinctively operate. Now, if you're able to position yourself in situations, so Jared, as a high quick start, I mean, you're the guy when the crap hits the fan. You're the one who will genuinely and generally always know what to do or always have a plan, even if you don't know what it is yet. When it comes time, you'll have it. So then you start leaning into it and you notice it in your everyday work. And man, when I'm creating, I prefer to create this way. It sure feels good when I'm talking this out versus when I'm typing, or vice versa. Or it sure feels good when I have a little bit of time to just do my research and figure out what I need to do on my own before I then come back to the team and go, hey, I think this is what we should do with the plan. So just figuring out and being okay with noticing things about yourself that are good and bad. There's no judgment or self-criticism or anything. It's all about looking for the things that you're doing really, really well so you can do more of them and get even better.
Yeah, so true, so true. And something that you have talked about a lot within our team, within the Thought for Food team, is how important it is to have a diverse range of different personalities and how they can all complement each other. Can you talk maybe a little bit about that? So what does it look like to build up a supporting cast around you?
My favorite example of this, and it's just, I mean, for millennials and Gen Z, it's the Justice League. There are some situations where you need Batman. And there are some situations where only the Hulk will do. And so if you had 5 Batmans on a team, they're all going to approach a problem with logic, with reason. If you had 5 Hulks on a team, it's brute force and brawn and rah. But if you have that diversity of superhero skills, of complementary superhero skills, you really do create a Justice League. And then what happens is really, really fun. So in the old days, you were hired for one job and you did that one job, and every single thing, you were in that box, and those were the only things you did. I believe that the future of work is going to be vastly different, and these dematerialized, these distributed teams are going to be more of the norm. And because of that, it doesn't really make sense to have those same sort of job description. This is all you do. Instead, I love slicing and dicing parts of work and then letting everyone work on their little pieces, and then we come back together and bring it all together. So one of the ways that happens is Peter puts out a weekly blog, and that man is busy. So we had to come up with some unique strategies to make sure that we kept on that cadence of a weekly blog, regardless of whether Peter was in the office or not. So one of the ways that we did that is, Peter's chief of staff will put a recorder in front of Peter and go, okay, this week's blog is on this topic. What should we research? What are the talking points you want to cover? What's resonating to you? And now he just riffs it and he just dictates the entire blog. We type it up and it goes. But before, when there was a little bit of research going, it was like, okay, here are the headings. Here are the major points I want to cover. Here are, some of the stories and case points I'll want to, case studies I'll want to put in. And then his chief of staff would send that out to us. We would listen to it and go, okay, you research this, you take a look at this, I'll transcribe the rest. And then everybody comes back together. They report their research. We plug it back in. We take a look at it. We send it to Peter. He goes, oh yeah, this is great. But change this part and this should really go up here. And oh, this doesn't sound like something I'd say. And he gives us feedback that way. Now we iterate that way and then the blog gets done. So think about Peter's time investment. It's that initial voice memo. It's the edit time back and forth and the final read through. For us, there is a little bit of research here, a little bit of research here. I'm transcribing. So what used to take one person 10 to 12 hours is now done in 2 hours, maybe. And that's if we're taking our time and really, really looking for great things. So that's just one example of how to slice and dice one task using your Justice League and just getting it done so much better and faster than the old way.
Yeah. And something that's so important for that is then having that process in place, having probably someone or a process that you can follow to pull everything back together. So I would encourage all the teams that are watching this, what tasks do you go through every day or every week, every month that you can create a process around, and how can you then spread those bits and pieces out to everyone and following that their skill sets, right? So following their superhero skill sets, so that you can get a really great result in the end. So that's a really great example, Marissa.
And one of the best ways to tell whether your process is rock solid is if you gave, and I always think of things in terms of checklists. So it's okay if your process is not a checklist, but imagine it is. If you can give that checklist to a brand new team member or someone who doesn't do that job, and they can get at least, even if it's not to the quality that you would want, if they can get it done in the right order and with all the steps and completely complete, that's a good process. Is one that's repeatable by someone else who doesn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can definitely say, having started 2 other small companies, I wish we had processes in place from day one. And maybe Marissa, you have some examples, or I can send some out at the end of this. But one thing I wish we had is a CRM system, and that's a customer relationship management platform set up where every single person that we talk to, we could just upload right away. So we could always look back and see who is communicating with them, why they were important, who they were. And instead, we set that up about after a year being in business. So we had a year-long period of this lost data, essentially. Do you have any other tools or things that you think all teams should start with right from the beginning so that they don't have to go back and catch up?
I think the very, very minimum, at the very minimum, take advantage of tools like G Suite and, what used to be Google Docs and Google Sheets. Yeah.
So Google Suite. Okay.
At minimum, build yourself a really great You know what, you think about it as if you were training someone new to do your job. And if you just catalog the things that you're already doing after you're finished with them, if you think you might repeat the task again, see if you can checklist it. And if you can, I bet you the next time you go through it, you'll look at that checklist again and go, oh, I don't need that step, or, oh, this is missing a few steps. You go through it again and you test it. And once you get to that point where the checklist is really awesome, and the checklist can be a 2-column Google spreadsheet, super easy. But once it gets to that point, then it gets really magical. So if you have any kind of dashboard, like a weekly dashboard, that's a really great place to track regular numbers. I always recommend that teams have some form of a dashboard, because what it avoids is those status update meetings where everybody goes and it's a wasted 30 minutes times however many people are on your team. And they're going, oh, what'd you do this week? What are your progress blockers? And what are, and they're great meetings to have. But at the same time, it's like, well, a really great dashboard could eliminate at least one of those meetings, at least one.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So we'll pull together some of these tools, and there's a lot of platforms out there or templates out there that you can use, so you don't have to recreate everything. So we'll send that out to you guys. Marissa, another question for you. I know you talk a lot about encouraging people to take risks, to experiment, and to be okay to fail. So how, as an individual, how can I convince myself that that's okay, especially if that's not something I'm used to, right? In school, we want to get 100% A's in everything. And how can I also help support my team to take those risks?
Wow. So I'll take it in pieces. So the first part of the team bit is psychological safety is really, really important in small teams. And psychological safety is basically, I know that if I try something and it doesn't work out, my team, the people that I respect and want to think that I'm doing a really good job, they won't think that I'm an idiot or stupid or that I've done something dumb. That first element in teams of psychological safety, if there's that trust and that rapport where it's like, hey, look, we're going through this together, we're trying hard, and one of the lines that we use a lot is we move fast and we break things, and that's just how we do it. Things are going to break. Things are not going to go exactly as planned always. But the only real failure, and this is so trite, but it's true, the only real failure is if you haven't learned something, if there isn't a lesson that you're pulling forward to apply. So if you have that as a cultural trait in the team, that helps a ton. Personally, that's a little different because, we have so many expectations for ourselves and our performance, and achievers especially. It is so hard. We are the first ones to beat up on ourselves because we notice when we underperform based on our potential. No one else notices because they're just seeing what you do and they think that you're great. But an achiever will think, well, I could have done better. Oh, well, it wasn't 100. So the first step to sort of getting over that, and it's a process and it's one with lots of work. The first step is really just focusing on strengthening your strengths. If you're growing your strengths versus bettering your weaknesses, that's another a common thing that I was told always, growing up was, oh, well, focus on your weaknesses and improve your weaknesses. Well, all it does is something you were weak in, now you're just average in. And who wants to be average? For an achiever, it's like, no, I want to be better. I want to be bigger. So focusing on your strengths, what you're really great at, and improving those. One, because it's probably a unique ability, so it feels good to work hard. You're probably already good at it, so you've got some confidence going. And it's just so much easier that way. So I think about my strengths, and I have a practice that I call destroy to create, which is intentionally every 90 days, I force myself to basically create a new habit. So I'll pick something that I'm already really good at. Morning routine is my focus for Q2. And I will, whatever I was doing, I start over. Like the equivalent of a fresh whiteboard or a clean sheet of paper. It's done. And I start from first principles. Like, okay, what's the outcome? I want to wake up and be ready to start at 8:30 in state. okay, what needs to happen for me to feel successful and in state? And then I start working backwards. So I've done this with email. I've done this with my fitness routines. I lost 30 pounds a year ago just by focusing on routines, no other changes, just spending 30 minutes differently. And it's those 2-degree shifts that often snap the photo and focus. It's amazing. So I'll take that thing and I re-engineer the process from scratch. And it's basically a big experiment. So sometimes I've ditched my email client, whatever I'm using, whether it's Postbox or Airmail or whatever, and I'll start over. I'll start with Gmail in the browser, or maybe I go from Gmail in the browser to a third-party platform, and I'll go through it. And sometimes I don't like what comes out at the end of the 3 months, and I go back to the way it used to be. Fine, but at least I have tried something different. It failed, but I have knowledge and intelligence about why that didn't work or why I prefer the old way better. So often we get caught up in these habits and routines and these patterns, and we just flatline or slowly go down in a world where we've got to constantly be improving, because today, even great, it is just so. Now it's excellent. There's never, you hear about the full stack employee who can do everything and be creative and be strategic. Yeah.
And something I personally really always rely on either mentors or close friends to be accountability buddies, essentially. So that's another thing that all of you guys can maybe think about is, it's really great to have a business mentor, but what does it look like to have a personal mentor as well? Someone who is helping guide you as you develop as a human. I think that's really important. Cool. So Marissa, I have, I think one other question, and then if you have anything else you want to add, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on, I guess, as you put it, the relentless pursuit of freedom. So what does that mean to you? What does it mean to, as an entrepreneur and our teams that are listening in, they're creating something because they feel like this is something that needs to be seen in the world. This is something that needs to be created. And as some of the teams have been doing this for longer than others, but I think as they continue to go through, you start to have some other motivations, and some of them are different freedom aspects that you bring up. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that and what that means for you.
Absolutely. Oh, this is my favorite. So as an entrepreneur, the most amazing capability, or someone working for an entrepreneur, a contractor, an entrepreneurial thinker and operator, we have so much power to create our own freedom. So Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, Peter is coached by Dan Sullivan, who's the co-founder. And so I'm gratefully exposed to a lot of their coaching and teaching. So Dan talks about 4 primary motivators for entrepreneurs, and they're all freedoms. Freedom of time, so the ability to, so I'll name 4 and then I'll go through them. So freedom of time, money, purpose, and relationship. So time, freedom of time, I'm able to work when I want or take a vacation when I want. I've got some freedom in my day. There isn't someone else saying, you must be in your seat from 9 to 5. And if you leave and you take a 35-minute lunch instead of a 30-minute lunch, you're going to be in trouble. That's not freedom. Freedom of money is not necessarily being wealthy, but not having money play into your decision-making factors. So that it's not like, if you want to spend or splurge or whatever you're wanting to do, you've got enough money to do it. So that's a big motivator for a lot of folks. Freedom of purpose is a big one for TFFers, which is freedom to work on things that you personally find important, impactful, making a difference, feeling like everything you do in your day really serves a higher purpose. So often, and I'll define it with the opposite again, so often we're in these soul-sucking jobs where you feel like a cog in the wheel, or a small part of a big machine, and that nothing that you do actually matters, and that if you left one day and walked out the door, they would sit someone right down in your seat and just do the same exact thing. And it didn't actually matter that you were in that seat. Ugh. So freedom of purpose. And then freedom of relationship, which is really about being able to interact with the people that you choose to, not having to deal with mean people or clients you don't like, or coworkers that tear you down and make you feel horrible. So those 4 freedoms: time, money, purpose, relationship. That's my motivation, is to expand my freedom in those 4 areas. Everything I'm doing is, for me, bringing in teamwork to help me gain freedom in those areas. So really, freedom of relationship is also about building in, actually all these freedoms are building in the right constraints, so that there's almost a gatekeeper keeping mean people or bad financial decisions or bad time implications out of your life. And then from the constraints, just innovating within that space and just making life as amazing as you can every single day in one of those 4 areas or more.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. And it's so important. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marissa. Do you have any last closing thoughts or pieces of advice that you want to give teams? I know personally, I'll be sending out some other tools and tips and tricks afterwards, but yeah, do you have any last things you want to say?
Yeah, so I mean, building on that last riff on the 4 freedoms, figure out the one that resonates the most with you.
Okay.
And then think about 3 ways that you could expand your freedom in that area. So freedom of time could be, for me, it was, well, if I wake up a few hours earlier than I would ordinarily, now I've got these 3 hours where they're only mine and I can do whatever I want. So, I mean, I started getting up at 5 because I knew that from 5 to 8:30, I could do whatever the heck I wanted. And I didn't have to pick up the phone or be responsive. I could be on the side of a mountain on a hike, or offline, or sleeping, or whatever. But that time was mine. And as soon as I carved out that time and made it mine, I started wanting to use it. So I popped out of bed because I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to work out or read or whatever it is that I wanted to do that day. So figure out the ones that are most important to you. And then think about 3 really easy ways that you can just build your freedom right away.
I love it. I love it. I think my biggest takeaway from this chat was just how important it is to know yourself. If you're going to have an efficient team, an efficient business, it really all starts with how well do you know yourself, and then how well can you help other people know themselves as well. So I think it was a really, really cool takeaway.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you, Marissa. We'll be sending out some other information and materials. But Marissa, I guess we'll be seeing you at the summit in Amsterdam, right?
Oh yeah, me
Awesome.
and our whole team. You'll meet my husband, Mike. It's going to be amazing. Come and say hello. Make sure you see my workshop on day 2. And cannot wait to rock it up with you guys in Amsterdam.
We can't wait either, Marissa. All right. Well, this is it. We'll see you guys soon.